are ready to begin. So welcome, my name is Paula Nowak and I'm on the presentation committee for Can Be Well. Today's presentation is Brain Fitness, Optimize Your Genes to Create Your Well-Being with Jill Hewlett. And as we begin today, we're going to begin with a land acknowledgement, acknowledging the traditional territory upon which each of us gather today. For hundreds of years before we stand here today, Indigenous peoples have been stewards of this land. It is with deep respect, gratitude, and appreciation that we acknowledge our Indigenous peoples that have honored our earth. May we join together today and honor the earth, and may we heal our relationship with the earth and each other as we gather and grow our wellness and well-being. So Can Be Well's vision and mission is creating a world where the many bioenergetic wellness disciplines and modalities are recognized, valued, and utilized as people make choices to improve their quality of life. As champions of personal choice in health and wellness, our members work together, encouraging ongoing professional development in the field of bioenergetic wellness to create and provide better services and education to the public. So our Can Be Well is supporting you and your friends and family and colleagues in self-care and personal well-being. There's webinars to choose, workshops, community outreach programs, and this year, our Shift into Wellness Summit. And as a Can Be Well membership supports our many programs as we connect, learn, create, and advocate together. And to contact us, our social media is at Linktree Can Be Well, and follow our public blog post at canbewell.org. It is my distinct pleasure today to introduce Jill Hewlett, and she's going to speak about optimizing your genes to create your well-being. Jill is a speaker, authority, brain fitness expert, and wellness authority. She combines her user-friendly neuroscience and inspired common sense strategies. Jill draws out all the natural leadership and resources and resilience in individuals and in organizations to support them to achieve greater levels of productivity, wellness, and success. Today, you'll be equipped with information, motivation, and tools to proactively build a fit brain and a fit life. Jill has been a brain gym consultant for almost 2 decades, and I've had the pleasure of being in many courses with Jill. And Jill has this skillful capacity to draw out the natural leadership in individuals and organizations to support in reducing stress, achieving greater levels of efficiency, resiliency, productivity, and success. And you will love Jill's inner vitality. Please join me in welcoming Jill Hewlett.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much for that introduction, Paula, and introducing us to your Can Be Well mission. It's fantastic. This is so important more than ever on the planet. So I'm going to, in just a moment, everyone, pull up my PowerPoint. Is that something? Yeah, here we go. I'll just take a quick moment to do that. And then we'll get started with the topic of the day, brain fitness to optimize your genes to create your well-being. So on that note, I think the best place to start is by making sure that your brain is fully turned on, firing on all cylinders, and ready to participate in the session here. So let's do that together. First things first, if you have a glass of water handy, please get it out, and let's have a toast. Cheers, everyone, to optimizing your genes. So just so you know, your brain is an electrical unit, and it needs to be hydro-powered constantly throughout the course of the day. So constant sips throughout this session and going forward in your day-to-day life is so critical if you want your brain to communicate and function properly, and all the cells of your body for that matter. The next thing we're going to do, just to make sure your brain is ready and raring to go, is to do some breathing, but some breathing strategically. I like to call this breathing 2.0, breathing with a twist. So what we're going to do is breathe in through our nose together and then exhale through your mouth. Nice big breath in and exhale through your mouth. Fantastic. Let's keep doing that. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. And when you do this, I'm going to give you a bit of information that you might find useful. When you inhale through your nose, through your nostrils, you're sending a direct oxygen supply to your brain. So you're really energizing those neurons. You'll notice a cooler air on the inhale. When you exhale, you are cleansing and detoxifying. So you may notice that the temperature of the air that you exhale is warmer. Okay, it's just been moving through your entire system. So inhale through your nose for that fresh supply, exhale to release and detoxify. At the same time, along with energizing your neurons, on that exhale, you are activating your rest and digest system. So by doing this strategic breathing, you can in fact energize and relax simultaneously. How good is that? Last but not least, let's just do a little bit of movement right here in front of the screen. Many people are reporting they're more sedentary than ever. So all these stay-at-home orders, this unique time that we're in on the planet. So movement is becoming less frequent for a lot of people, and that takes its toll on our entire system and especially our brain. So simple movement, just turning your head from side to side, looking in different directions, breathing and blinking as you do this, just to reset your vision. And also gives your neck and shoulders a little bit of a stretch so you can adjust your posture. And then you can also do that up and down in front of you, always listening to your body and doing what's comfortable for you. And last but not least, I like to do the diagonal as well. That's a movement that we don't typically do unless we're maybe engaging in some dance or maybe some Tai Chi or yoga type moves. But oftentimes we're just sitting and looking in front of us. So we really need to open up to this variety of movement patterns, because it not only does it stimulate the body, it stimulates our brain as well. All right, well, thank you for participating in that. Notice how you feel. If there's anything else you need to do to feel relaxed and energized, please go ahead and do it. So to set the tone for today's session, I basically wanted to kind of give you some high-level genetic information, okay? We're not going to go into this full force. This is very high level and kind of gets you thinking and gets you considering some topics that you may not have considered before. So the first point I want to make here, which is to kind of kick us off, is that you are composed of an incredible life code called DNA. DNA makes up your genes, and your genes play a key role in determining your life story. So that's amazing, right? Because at the end of the day, what we've come to learn here, let me see here, I'm just trying to move the slide. There we go, just got stuck. There we go. Let's see if it'll move there. Okay, here we go. Okay, so basically your genes affect you and you affect your genes. And what does that mean? Well, basically with our genes, we have a template. It's like a blueprint of various aspects of ourselves, in particular our physical qualities. So for example, how tall you are, the color of your hair, the color of your eyes, how big your hands will be, your skin tone, all these things come in with this genetic blueprint. But at the same time, what is so important to recognize is that we affect our genes as well. And we do this through our behaviors, our habits, our lifestyle choices. And through that, we actually, throughout the course of our life, we can activate and deactivate certain genes, and we can affect our genetic sequences. So that's amazing, because while our genes are indeed creating and affecting us, we in turn can affect our genes. And this beautiful dance is basically influenced by every decision we make. So we're really in the driver's seat of how our genetic expression occurs. It's a very co-creative, dynamic, ongoing experience. Now our genes, for that matter, have been developed millions of years ago, and they were developed to support our ancestors' survival. So what's very interesting, though, if we look at today's lifestyle compared to our ancestors, the messages that the modern world is delivering to our DNA is vastly different than what it used to be. Most of us are actually living at odds with our genetic makeup. So this is where there's an issue that arises, a discrepancy, and where problems begin to surface. But with that knowledge, when we recognize that, we can do something about it. So that's where the keyword epigenetics comes in. Epi meaning superseding or outer influencing. And what that comes down to is that basically your genes are not fixed. You can affect your genes and once again, turn them on or off to express disease or health based on many of your choices. So with this knowledge, you really have an empowering opportunity to change your physical, mental, emotional health for the better, no matter what age or stage of life you are in. How cool is that? So that's setting the stage for our session today. I hope you feel, inspired and excited about learning ways that you can actually step into that position and basically make a positive difference. So if this is possible to all of us, why then are so many people struggling? Like, why are people maybe not making the best choices or leveraging this epigenetics? This seems to be a challenge right now more than ever, that people don't have the clear-headed space to actually step into that role and to do it wisely, to do it effectively. Well, we are living at a very unprecedented time, and maybe you can relate, or your family members or friends can, or you have clients who can, and that there are really various struggles going on, and studies are showing that mental health and cognitive decline are at an all-time high. So let's look at that for a moment, and let's break that down into some key areas to make it practical and to make it relatable, and then in fact we can actually do something about it. So the three main issues that I'm hearing a lot from individuals and organizations are the following. Okay, we're going to start with number one, which is fatigue. Basically, your energy budget is being drained. And why? Well, basically, your brain is an energy hog. It requires a lot of energy to do its job. And that's on a good day, never mind when it's dealing with all this extra uncertainty and change and new tasks or new way of doing things or all these rules and regulations. It just becomes an overload. It's overwhelming for your brain, and it doesn't have enough energy or capacity to manage it. The next issue is fear and/or anxiety. Basically, many people are spending more time than they realize and more time than they should in their survival fear-based centers, okay, their reactive brain centers. And why is that happening? Well, basically, it's because your brain's number one job is to keep you safe. Okay, survival is at the top of its list, and that's really for good reason. And how it would typically do that is it would actually take your past life experiences and line them up with your current reality so that you can make really effective and successful choices and decisions. But the reality is, with all the change that's happened over the past almost year and a half now, there's a gap between our past reality and our current reality. And so things just aren't lining up. And your brain knows it, and it's very hard to make sense of it, which automatically puts us into will put people more into a fearful or anxious state. Last but not least, a down mood. Well, many people are reporting that they're not just feeling they're not quite feeling themselves. They're feeling slightly off. They're feeling more heavy and lethargic, or even downright depressed. And in many cases, this is because their happy brain neurochemicals have been hijacked. What does that mean? Well, basically your brain is a highly social organ. It requires constant interaction and stimulation socially for it to be healthy, for it to be happy. And we're really lacking in those opportunities. Many of them have been put on hold, on pause, some canceled completely. And so our regular outlets, our venues, the fitness classes, the places we go to socialize, concerts, music halls, places where we go to do creative activities, all these types of things, because of the shift, and in many cases them not being available, our opportunity to stimulate that oxytocin, the serotonin, the dopamine, they're just not available to us. And so people are really feeling it. So what can we do here? What's possible? Like, are we stuck? Or can we do something? We know that what's occurring on the planet is even further removed than how our ancestors lived. And so the way that we would be stimulating and caring for and even protecting our DNA and genes is really out of alignment. And now more than ever, people are really feeling this. Well, we can start with some very good news. This is where I'd like to put the lens at this point. And we have three categories again, where I'd like to specifically highlight, which will, I think, really empower and inspire us to the next stage of implementing strategies that will support us. So the first piece of good news is called best technology. Basically, your brain is the most powerful, clever, and sophisticated technology on the entire planet. Okay, it's not the new car or iPhone upgrade or latest and greatest appliance. The best technology on the planet is inside of you. Okay, so that's what you're working with. So that in and of itself is amazing news. The next piece of great news is a word called neuroplasticity, which is fairly new to the English vocabulary, all things considered, because it wasn't that long ago that scientists believed that our brain was not changeable. So they would never have used the word neuroplasticity to refer to plasticine-like or plastic-like or malleable, changeable, modifiable, or sculptable. No, they thought the brain was set in stone. But it turns out that is not true. And research has proven that you do have access to something called neuroplasticity, and that your brain is actually a jelly-like sponge that is constantly being influenced with every thought, word, and action that you take. And so intentionally and unintentionally, strategically or not strategically, you are affecting your brain. Three key words that go along with it, well, two key words to support that keyword neuroplasticity, which refers to the plastic, malleable, changeable brain, is the next word neurogenesis, which refers to your ability to make new neurons your entire lifespan in certain areas of your brain, creating new neurons, which is something that they believed was limited as well. And now they realize that as long as you're on the planet, you can make new neurons. And what's extremely important is the ability for those neurons to communicate, those links between the neuron. So that's called synaptogenesis, our ability to create new neural links, which then, of course, creates our brain networks. So this is amazing. This is great news because we have this on our side. Last but not least, I'd like to touch on something called electrical flow. As I mentioned earlier, when you were having your water, your brain is an electrical unit and it needs proper hydration to be hydropowered. Also, did you know that your brain has enough electrical energy to light up a low watt light bulb? Yes, it can do that, which is pretty amazing stuff. So just like an electrician would direct the energy and information flow in a building, it's your responsibility and opportunity to direct the energy and information flow in your system. And I distinctly say the words responsibility and opportunity, okay? Because many people are letting that amazing ability sit at the wayside. And if you don't tap into that, then it won't get leveraged or used. But when you do intentionally and consistently take the actions, implement the habits and strategies to care for yourself and really augment your energy flow and the electrical flow of your system, new growth will happen. You will literally create new neurons and new neural pathways. And with practice and continual implementation, you will make stronger neural pathways. They will become super highways, and they will become faster, more efficient, stronger, and more resilient. And of course, in turn, so will you. So this is how you go about investing into your brain fitness and ultimately creating your fit brain and your fit life, which I'm a huge advocate for. So once again, if all this is possible and it's literally at our fingertips, then why are so many people struggling? Well, there are several reasons. I'm sure we can make a big list, but the three I wanted to mention, just to give some understanding to this, is that first of all, we are truly living in a unique time, and it's taking a larger toll on some people more than others. But we are all, to some degree or another, being faced with a lot of change and a lot of uncertainty. So that's the first one. The second one is that because this field of neuroscience is fairly new, a lot of people just haven't had access to it. It is becoming more mainstream, but it's it is fairly new. And that leads to the third issue, is that because of that, it's not yet being taught in the schools or in, for the younger classes as just part of general information, or necessarily shared on the home front either. So basically it comes down to being in a really unique time and space, and also just not having access to this information, which is why it's so great that you joined this webinar today, and that Can Be Well is offering these wonderful webinar series to get this information out to people so that they can really put it to use. So ultimately, we know here that the struggle is real for many. And again, those mental health issues are on the rise, and cognitive issues as well. So we need to look at what we can do. This is the next part of the session, is to really go into the strategies, like how can a person cope, let alone thrive, and really leverage their epigenetic abilities, and to really optimize their personal wellness. Well, brain fitness to the rescue. Now, there are many components to my brain fitness programs, but there are three main areas that I want to touch on today based on the time we have together. And these fall into categories, another set of three: mindset, minerals, and movement. So we're going to go into each of those areas to look at strategies that you can put to use right away. The first one is mindset. And I think it's important to note here that our mindset kind of governs everything, right? Like it sets the stage for your life experience, for better or for worse. And a great way to start to cultivate a healthier and more supportive mindset is by becoming aware of your thoughts, just starting to tune in and build those awareness muscles. Now, for those of you who have a background in brain gym, you'll know that we're fans of using the word noticing. So I'll use awareness and noticing interchangeably, because for the purposes of this webinar, they're the same thing. But basically, awareness doesn't just precede making a change. Awareness in and of itself creates changes and shifts in your being, in your brain. So already just becoming aware of new information, like you are right now in this session, you're growing your brain, and you're literally becoming more informed. And the word information literally means informed, because it affects the structure, the form of your brain. Very cool, right? So this is the opposite, though, to what a lot of people are tending to do, right? Because with stress, a lot of people are dealing with too much information, TMI. So they just rather bury their head in the sand, or just do what's easy and efficient, because that's what their system is accustomed to, and then kind of, just hope to get through their day as easily as possible. And basically, it's an energy thing too, because they don't have the energy for much more. But this is a state of denial. And this word denial can be broken down into an acronym, DENIAL, standing for Don't Even Notice I am lying. And that is really an issue because it's not an intentional thing, it becomes a habit. And so we're just not aware of what is really going on or the positive and effective changes that we can make. And oftentimes that is a person may be concerned that it's going to take too much effort or it's going to be too complicated. But the reality is just by working on building those awareness or noticing muscles, by just tuning into where your breathing's at, noticing things like your posture and your energy levels, simple things like that, you will automatically start to shift into the present moment, unwind, unfurl some of those stressors, that's that energetic stress ball that's accumulated, and you'll move into a more clear and coherent place, simply by practicing those noticing and awareness skills. So that's really wonderful. That can be done anywhere, anytime. And in the words of Dr. Paul Dennison, dear friend and mentor of mine, founder of Brain Gym International, he says him and his wife, Gail, who's co-founder to this body of work, says that you're actually crossing over the noticing bridge, where you're linking up the brainstem, midbrain, up to the prefrontal cortex, where you actually can come from a whole brain thinking space. And that is exciting because then you're reconnected with those executive functions. That is where, you know, that gives us the human advantage. And it's that area where we can plan, create, problem solve, self-manage, all these positive things where we can then, of course, make good choices that's going to affect as well, not our general health, but also our genetic expression. So it's very exciting what's possible. And once again, it does not need to be tricky. In fact, another great way to practice noticing is by pausing. Just for fun, see how many times you can catch yourself throughout the course of the day, stopping and pausing in the activity you're doing, or maybe if you're ruminating in some thoughts, just put them on hold. Or even if you're having a conversation, just pause and really listen. We can get into something called life inertia, where we're just going at a kind of a preset pace and a speed that has become habituated, rather than a pace that is actually natural and relevant to the moment we're in. So pausing will reset, recalibrate us, and will be a wonderful way to practice those noticing skills. All right, great. Now, the next component I'd like to go into is the mineral section. This may be new information for some of you. It's another one of my areas of interest, because nutrition has always been something that I found very fascinating and also very important. And I could, notice an immediate difference with what I put in the system, in my system, or what I didn't, because eating is something we do on a daily basis. So, but more than that, this is one of the absolute key ways to activate your epigenetics and create a healthy expression of those genes. So let's start with the main point. Clearly, you can't run on empty. Your brain, once again, is an energy hog. We need to fuel ourselves properly, and we get a lot of our energy not from the sun, from the solar power, and from the foods we eat. So you're composed of a lot of cells. I'm not sure if you're aware of this number, but about 50 to 100 trillion cells. It's a huge, huge number, right? And you must nourish these cells on a daily basis and do it properly to get the best out of these cells so they can do their job properly. And you can really affect the healthy structure and function of these cells. And if you aren't giving your cells what they need, then very quickly you will start to get something called warning signs. Early warning signs that if you don't do something now, there will be bigger problems to contend with, because your system just can't indefinitely run on fumes. So you get these early warning signs to let you know that eventually you're going to become chronically depleted if you don't listen up and make some good choices and fuel accordingly. So here's a personal story that illustrates this example. Okay, this is my mother, Helen. This is her at 70, probably 75, 76 years old. She's 79 now. And she is just an energizer bunny, hard to keep up with, quite an amazing lady. And but the interesting thing is, about 20 years ago, when she was into her mid to late 50s, she was starting to get a number of these early warning signs. She was getting a lot more graying hair was coming in. She was gaining weight. Her energy was dropping. She was noticing age spots on her hands and arms. She had varicose veins emerging, bruising that wouldn't go away on her legs. The dentist said that her teeth were becoming weaker and her gums were receding. She'd need to see a periodontist. And most of all, the biggest issue is she was waking up in the middle of the night in pain and a lot of discomfort. And so she wasn't sleeping well. And it was just, it was just becoming very uncomfortable. So she went to the family doctor and told him what was going on. And he basically said, Helen, it's the aging process. There's nothing you can do. It's just natural. And don't worry, this happens to everybody. But here's a prescription for the onset of arthritis, which it looks like you're having, and that will manage the pain. So basically, my mom left with this prescription, but she didn't want to fulfill it because she thought, gee, there must be something I can do, because simply masking the pain is only really letting the situation get worse underneath, right? So you're not really addressing the cause, you're just masking the symptoms. So she, there's a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, soon after that, she was watching the TV, and on breakfast television, there was an individual who came on who was in the midst of doing a book tour, and his book had come out called Let's Play Doctor. And he said, she was listening to him, and she kind of captured her interest because of the topic. As he proceeded to talk about chronic degeneration and people and the aging process and their bodies basically breaking down, she felt she was a textbook case. And she said, this guy is describing me to a T, and he seemed to have quite a few suggestions and solutions. So she called me up and said, can you help me find this guy? I just saw him on TV, and he's doing a book tour, and I'd love to learn more. I think he's got some great solutions. Well, as my mom was explaining what she had heard to me, it sounded very familiar. And as serendipity would have it, it was familiar because at the time I was hosting and producing a wellness TV show, and he was going to be a guest on my program as well. So I said, well, I can really help you out with this. Come to the station, the TV station, and you can meet this gentleman in the green room and talk to him about his advice and explain your issue, and I'm sure he'd be happy to give you some input. And that is what happened. So this is a picture of me on the TV set with now who has become a dear friend and mentor, Dr. Joel Wallach, who is considered one of the forefathers of epigenetics, along with Bruce Lipton. So he is really highly regarded in this field, and I won't spend too much time explaining why and who he is, because I can provide more information for those who want to follow up. But I will say that he was part of a multi-million-dollar research grant to learn about the chronic degeneration in animals, in exotic animals. And that parlayed eventually over to humans, and he was able to prove, and his research is actually located in the Smithsonian Library now, and the United Nations have given him a Lifetime Achievement Award, and he's considered to be a top pathologist in the US. But what happened was he was able to show and prove that all vertebrates, so humans and animals with a spine, with a backbone, need a certain menu for their cells to do their job properly. And when they aren't getting this menu, their health will decline. And you'll see it showing up in various symptoms until it eventually becomes dis-ease. So let's talk about what that menu looks like. It consists of 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and 2 essential fatty acids. Very cool, right? That is the menu right there, 90 essential nutrients. And if you do not get this menu into your diet on a daily basis, you will start to see those early warning signs. So it's to everyone's best interest to really support their cells and their genetic expression by giving this information to your cells. Now, most people try to do it simply through the food they eat, but the issue with that is that our soils are quite deplete. And you can see this mineral depletion in our soil. This is a more recent graph, and it shows the great decline that we've had in the parts per million of nutrients and mineral composition in our soils. Okay, and the big deal with this is that there's a lot of commercial farming going on, a lot of fertilizers or pesticides rather used like glyphosate that are hindering the mineral uptake. But also farmers only need to put back in NKP, which stands for nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. That's all they need to do to put back the nutrients into their soil, which helps the vegetables to grow, but that is not a big enough range of nutrients for your human system or for animals either, for that matter. So without going much further into this, because if you want more information, please follow up with me directly and I can provide you all sorts of information and videos. But the main takeaway here is that while many people are doing their best to make good, healthy food choices, and when they go to the grocery store, purchase things that they feel would be a healthier choice, the issue is if there are not nutrients in the soil, they will not be in the foods that you're buying. So, even with the best of intentions, there typically is a huge deficit for the majority of folks. But you can do something about it. The great news is you can intentionally make sure you get these nutrients and in turn give your cells what they need. So the last but not least, the last part of our session here is about movement. And this is how I got into this work. I love the movement aspect of the brain fitness training I offer, primarily because I grew up with my parents owning a sporting goods store. So we were very active as kids. And then when I went into high school, I was the girls' athletic rep. And then going into university, it just continued on as a way of life for me until I learned about this field of work called brain gym, which made that whole body-mind connection even more relevant for me and really made me understand that why when we get movement, it doesn't just to help us physically, it helps us emotionally, mentally, and functionally as well. So the cornerstone message of neuroscience regarding movement is this: how you fire it is how you wire it. And that's how it goes, basically. You've got to take action, you interact, you think, you do, you engage, you're firing neurological actions, and in turn you're wiring your brain accordingly. But most people, especially now more than ever, are actually not getting the movement their system really needs. Become quite sedentary. And so with all the stay-at-home orders, especially, but sitting at our desks in front of the computers to do work, and then sitting to do social media, or on the couch to watch TV and Netflix, or to sit at the table to eat a meal, and then to lay down to go to bed. So our upright time that we really need as Homo sapiens is not getting the emphasis or the quantity that it requires. And just to kind of point out one of the big factors here, and that technology, and it's a very useful thing, it helps us stay connected, like in this webinar right now, but there really is an overuse of technology going on. And when it comes down to it, screens are two-dimensional, and your brain is three-dimensional, and it needs to be stimulated in that three-dimensional capacity on a regular basis. So ultimately, movement is a big part of what our ancestors' lifestyle. And so our DNA, our cells do not understand us just kind of sitting around and waiting for things to happen. Our ancestors were doers. They knew how to conserve their energy, and it wasn't continual movement, but they were, on a whole, far more active and fit than we currently are in our present day society. So we need to give our brain and body what it needs and stimulate our epigenetics by moving. And this is also proven from an academic angle, because Stanford University, for example, has done a study on these microbursts of movement. And they said if a person gets out, for even 5 minutes every hour, they will automatically boost their energy and creativity, sharpen their focus and concentration, and improve their mood and motivation. So there's some great reasons right there to do it. Now, the field of brain gym that we've mentioned a few times on this webinar so far really captures the essence of this wonderfully. And Dr. Dennison and his wife Gail created a menu of brain gym movement activities that can basically be done anywhere, anytime, to keep the system in that integrated state. So we're going to do some together. We're going to do some activities. And I'd like you to join me, please. Make yourself comfortable and join in. And we're actually even going to do a pre-check and a post-check so you can see the difference before and after. Okay, so first things first, let's take a moment, and this is a check-in just to kind of get a baseline of where you are, and then we'll compare after. So first thing is just to notice your breathing. Then be aware of your posture, how you're sitting, if your legs are crossed or you're sitting more forward or back. And last but not least, your energy level. 0's empty, 5's halfway, 10, you're fueled up, raring to go. Where is your energy dial? So this is just a quick check, okay? This is also practicing your noticing skills as well. But this is just a quick check before we go into these activities here. The first one is for energy, okay? Who wouldn't like more energy, right? Especially when it's in the middle of the day and the energy's dropping and you feel like having a nap or siesta, but it's not possible. What can we do? Well, going back to an earlier activity we did, drinking some water, let's have some more right now. That will really help energize us. And at the same time, as you're doing that, I want to give you some extra tips. Keeping your water handy is key. If it's in your visual field, you'll be more likely to remember to do it. I also recommend having it right beside your bedside table so you can, first thing in the morning, get hydrated. Don't put it off. It's easy to do. And then what people end up doing is they go for their coffee rather than their water, and now they're already further dehydrating themselves, actually. So you need lots of fresh water. Nothing replaces that. And that's constant sips throughout your day. So make it handy, make it accessible, and give yourself that visual cue. The next thing is presence. How would you like to be more present to others, your roles and responsibilities, and to yourself? Well, that's possible when we tune into our breathing and we really get into that present moment. So we talked about this earlier, where you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. I'm going to suggest adding on to that with some body movement, where you just bring up your shoulders on the inhale and bring them back and down on the exhale. Inhale, bring them up. Exhale, bring them down and back. And just keep rolling your shoulders as you do this. This is a wonderful way to make more space for your breath. Also will help you to kind of bring you more into the present moment, because it's engaging your attention, and you're shifting your posture, because with all of this sitting, there's a very good chance that you could be more hunched and forward in your alignment than you really should be. So this will bring you back into that open and upright position. Notice how that feels. Great. Now we're going to do an activity for focus. Would you like better focus? Would you be more productive? Would you procrastinate less? Would you finish more projects? Well, this is a favorite here, mine, from the Brain Gym menu, the thinking caps, where we massage our ears that have over 400 acupressure points, and we energize our whole system by just starting at the top of each ear, thumbs to the front, fingers to the back, and you're just going to roll out your ears bit by bit, taking your time, going around the whole rim, around the lobes, breathing as you do this, and then starting at the top and doing that again, maybe 2, 3, or even 4 times, depending on how big your ear is and how long it takes. But this is meant to be enjoyed. You're getting a nice supportive touch here, which already stimulates the parasympathetic response, that rest and digest response. You may find as you do this, you want to yawn, which is absolutely great as well. That will get you more oxygen, oxygenate your system more at the same time. So yawn, do the thinking caps, even stretch out if you like. Take a big sigh, and you'll notice that you feel more relaxed and energized from this activity. And it will also help refocus you into the present moment and the task at hand. Great. Okay, next activity is for more balance. Would you like to be more physically, emotionally, or mentally balanced? Well, it is possible, and one quick activity to support all those areas is by going for a quick walk. In fact, research shows that how healthy and valuable it is in so many ways to go out for at least a 20-minute walk per day, longer if you can, or even a couple of walks a day. You will actually grow the learning and memory centers of your brain as well as you do this. But once again, our ancestors, they didn't have cars, they didn't have scooters, they didn't have bikes. They were heel toeing it and running most of their day. So this is really brings us back into that place of epigenetics where we're working in relationship with our genes, and getting out walking on a daily basis is so important. Now, recognizing that I can't send you off for a walk right now. We're on this webinar together, and some days you just don't have the time, or maybe the weather isn't conducive. Well, you have the option of doing a seated walk or row type activity. Give you both options here. The seated cross crawl activity from the Brain Gym menu is great. You can do it sitting on the floor, where you take your opposite hand across your body to your opposite leg and keep switching back and forth and turning your upper body as you do this. So you're getting a little bit of a spinal twist as well. Breathing, blinking your eyes, getting back into that most natural movement rather than just sitting stationary and looking forward. This gets us back into some healthy movement patterning. Another way you can do it too, which is fun, is to pretend you are rowing in a canoe or a kayak. And each time you bring your hands across and you pull that oar back, you can switch which hand is on top. So that will also give you some variety. So this really feels good, very similar and complementary to that cross-lateral movement of the cross crawl. And of course, doesn't replace going for a movement, a walk break necessarily, but it is something you can intersperse throughout the course of your day along with it. All right, now just a few more activities here as we wrap up. Would you like to refresh your perspective? Like on demand, start your day over, even if it's halfway through the day, or feel like you're really working on a fresh or empty canvas. Well, so often we're stuck in the past or dwelling on the future because we're stuck in flight, fight, and freeze mode. So a great way to deactivate that is simply by, pointing and flexing your feet. So you can put them out in front of you, bring your heels to the ground, and just bring your toes up towards you. That's called dorsiflexion. And then point the toes back down, plantar flexion, because our tendon guard reflex gets activated when we are in a stress response. And it doesn't mean that actually something stressful is really happening. It could be a perceived stress, or it can be a stress simply from sitting too much and not getting enough movement. So there you go, pointing and flexing those toes. You can do it with your hands as well, so your wrists get a break. If you do a lot of desk work or keyboard work, that's another idea. You could do both at the same time and get more of your body and brain involved simultaneously. And then if you feel like it, if you're into yoga, you want a really good stretch, you could take this to the next level by doing something like a downward dog like this gentleman, but don't multitask like him, because better to just focus on the downward dog and have both your hands down. Or you can do a seated forward bend where you sit on the floor, your feet are out in front of you, bring your toes up, and just take a nice breath in and forward, bend forward in front of you. So these are, once the activities will also give you a nice feeling of lengthening, and will get the communication flow moving throughout your system. So good work, good work. And just a couple more here. This one's for clarity. If you want to have more mental clarity so you can make better decisions and choices or be more creative. These are the positive points in brain gym, which are just between your eyebrow and your hairline. You can just hold those and breathe into your belly and relax your shoulders. That right away will help bring some clarity as you calm your belly, your nervous system, and at the same time, you are bringing blood and oxygen flow to the frontal part of your brain matter here, of your brain area, the executive function, the higher order thinking area. So important to do because when we're in stress, we lose connection with that area. So simply by holding the points with each hand or your entire one hand laying flat across your forehead, that's an option too, whatever feels best for you. It's a light touch, a light hold. And as you do this, you're doing some nice breathing. Great stuff. And just even 30 seconds to a minute, and you will start to notice a shift, especially if you are in a stressful or stress-based state. Okay. All right. Last but not least, positivity. How would you like to have a more positive attitude or more positive attitude on demand when it doesn't even feel like it's accessible and you can just turn that switch? Would you be healthier, happier, creative, or more productive? Probably. So in order to do that, a quick and easy way to activate some positivity is by literally turning your frown upside down. Yes, that's right. So a smile can go a long way into shifting your neurochemistry and upregulating your immune system, slowing down your heartbeat, reducing your blood pressure, and doing all sorts of the benefits that laughter would do for you. But this is like a laughter primer too. You'd be more likely to laugh if you start smiling more. And research has actually shown that even by putting like a pencil or a utensil of that sort in your mouth like this, you will automatically activate that grin, that line, and it will activate those smile benefits as well. So you literally can fake it till you make it, but the more you do it, the more natural it will feel and the more good it will feel. And then the more likely you will be to do it. So there you go. So just give me a big smile. You can see me, I can't see you, but even just do it, smiling in the mirror when you see yourself will make a big difference. You know, it takes more energy to frown than it does to smile. So remembering to do this is a quick and easy tip to shift that positivity scale. All right, last but not least, post check. Let's see the changes and the difference. If you can just take a moment to tune into your breathing. Notice if it's the same or different, there's certain qualities or aspects of it just feel different. Even a little change can go a long way. And has your posture shifted? Are you sitting differently? Do a scan from head to toe and notice what's going on in your system. Anything changed there? Are you more upright? Are you more open? Are you just sitting in a completely different way? Or is it even just slightly different? And what about that energy scale? Where is your energy level? 0 was empty, 5 halfway, 10 fueled up. Has that number shifted at all? Well, we'd be happy to hear from you. And in just a moment, we can have some people share if you like. But just know that right away, even a little shift can go a long way. And having tools like this, you are literally empowering yourself to focus on solutions instead of problems, because it's our opportunity in each and every moment to focus our energy on creating the new rather than fighting the old. And that is a way that our ancestors lived as well, which is very different than our modern day world where we tend to really dwell on things. They were, you know, they were living in the wild without much protection. They needed to be in the present moment to keep themselves safe and to, you know, harvest the food that they needed to harvest and to care for their family or tribe members. You know, in today we have so many more luxuries of kind of, you know, these buildings and clothing and ways to, you know, and lighting and things that we can do. But then we start to, because those basic human needs have been more or less taken care of for a lot of people, you start to dwell on other things, which is not our natural human way of being. It really is a we are actually far more progressive and here to look at solutions and put our energy into things that are healthy and happy for us. And in that way, we get to really cultivate in a meaningful way our brain map. We can build new neural connections and sculpt our brain in a way that is really healthy for us. And no one else can do it for you. No one else can sculpt your brain. So you may as well jump into the driver's seat and do it. And you really do have this, you've got this, you've got information and tools that you can start using immediately. I'm happy to answer any questions on that front as well. And I will mention that if you like the activities we did, there's far more available coming up in the Brain Fitness Card course that I'm offering on September 18th. It's a deck of cards full of so many of these brain activation strategies. And the whole course, the emphasis on this will be how, why, when, and where to use them. I do have an early registration discount. This is actually a beta pricing right now because it's the first time that I'm running this course. And I can put the link in the chat box, but I think another great way is just to go to my website, which is jillhewlett.com, and the pop-up for the course will immediately come up and you can learn more about it. For those of you, if you let me know that you took part in today's session, as an additional bonus, I will send you a digital copy of my first book, Common Sense, Uncommonly Practiced. And that would be my gift to you for tuning into the session today. So on that note, I'd love to stay in touch. I answer any questions. And once again, there is so much found on my website, information, resources, blogs, and all my social media handles. And there's a weekly brain and life reset that gets sent out as well if you want to stay in this conversation. Thank you for joining me. I will hand the mic back to Paula now. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, Jill. That was an amazing presentation today. You filled us with so much incredible information, empowering and inspiring us to really make a shift in our brain and our body for personal wellness and well-being. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I know I'm going to go back to the video and re-look at things, and I have so much more that I know that I'll get out of it on the second time around. So thank you.
Fantastic. You're so welcome. And thank you for the invite. And yeah, I really appreciate having this opportunity to share something I am clearly passionate about. And I think that more and more people are developing an interest for these types of things.
They are. And this is such an opportune time to really work on our wellness and well-being. So thank you for that. And we're just going to open it up to questions if people have some questions for Jill. Someone's already asked a question about, with so much time of being spent at the computer, not only for adults, but also for children, especially in our school systems in Ontario, we've been spending a lot of time, the kids that have been at the computer. So with that type of schedule, being at the computer so much, do you recommend like a movement schedule of, if they're at their desk or they're at their computer, what do you recommend for parents and kids and workers of how often should they do some of these brain activating activities?
That's such a great question, because, and I've experienced that firsthand with my work transitioning at home to be, I'm usually at events in person, and my daughter being at home for her high school classes. So we have been more sedentary and homebound. And so what my recommendation is this: get a bunch of activities that you like to do that are easy and that you enjoy, so you'll be more likely to do them, things that you feel naturally drawn to, and have like a list handy so when to, so you can easily refer to them. You don't forget. They're cues for you. And then do them first thing in the morning. Then say in the middle, maybe set initially an actual time, maybe middle of the morning, then right after lunch, and then later in the afternoon, and then once more in the evening, say. And I say that initial kind of left brain structure because if you set the intention and you lay out your schedule, you may be more likely to do it. just keep that and that schedule initially until you feel that you will more naturally do the activities whenever you need them. Because I think what will happen is your own innate intelligence will kick in and go, you know what? I've been sitting too long. My brain isn't working clearly. I'm starting to not focus or pay attention properly. I need to have some water. I need to get some fresh air. I need to move. And I think ultimately, we'll step into a more organic way of doing it. But to start with, it might be helpful if you have a certain key times throughout the course of the day, from when you wake up to various points throughout until you even go to bed at night, that you will make a commitment to develop that practice.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Jill. I find it so helpful when we can do these activities throughout the day. It does give us that energy and that creativity to, just to be engaged in what we're doing. So thank you so much for that. And I also find too, when I do those activities throughout the day, it calms my nervous system when I'm feeling overwhelmed, which is a great benefit to be energized and to also to have that calmness as well.
Yeah, and to know that both of those are possible, because that tends to be, I think in society, we tend to think I'm either really energized, and that's like the hamster on the hamster wheel almost, right, when it's out of balance, or I'm going to be really relaxed, which is feet up on the couch, not going anywhere fast, just kind of staying put. And the reality is those are two extremes. That's not the way we can best function in our day-to-day life, though. We need to be energized and relaxed, like loose and limber, in a kind of a ready state, right? And then not just senselessly using our energy for no reason, but really there, actively engaged and available. And then at the same time, having that energy supply to last throughout the entire day too, because when we are, going and not able to stop, we are not taking the actual moments, those pauses, those really important times to actually recharge. I mean, we recharge our phone, right? We need to recharge ourselves and take those opportunities to like power back up.
That's excellent. And to recharge yourself throughout the day.
Yes, amazing, amazing. Someone put in the chat box, how do we increase the mineral if foods no longer have enough? Well, that's a key question, right? And many health food stores will carry a mineral supplement. I will definitely say that you have to get the right quality. And I'm a real proponent of colloidal, plant-derived, pre-digested minerals, because your body knows them. They come from prehistoric forest areas, and so they're coming from the earth, and your body recognizes them and puts them to use right away. So if you want to reach out to me, I can share with you what I use, or you can just simply go to, I guess I can put this in the chat box. It's all about minerals.com. If you go to it'sallaboutminerals.com, and then if you want to go to my website too, I'll put it in here. You can reach out and, send me a message too. We have lots of videos there on the It's All About Minerals website, and it really discusses this deficiency and how in a really easy and affordable way you can make sure you're getting the micronutrients that are required to convert the macronutrients into the usable form that your system needs, so that you can optimize your genetics and invest into your health and well-being.
Again, I'd just like to say thank you to Jill. It was a wonderful presentation, and we look forward to having you back again soon.
Such a pleasure, Paula. Thank you for hosting this, to you and Michelle. And it's been a real pleasure, and I look forward to being in touch with you all soon. Thank you.
Wonderful. And I'm just going to pull up our slide just to end off here today. And here we go. So here's Jill's contact information. And thank you so much, Jill, for just sharing so much great stuff. And I look forward to putting so much of this into practice and changing my habits for wellness and well-being. And Can Be Well has some amazing upcoming events, so stay tuned for that. We have pre-summit webinars for members and summit registrants. Can Be Well with Nolative is offering a summit of shifting into wellness, 2021 Synergy Summit with a 3-part series beginning in November. Thank you to everyone. Wellness is your choice. Have a super amazing day.